XQC is back to gambling on Twitch after saying he would not do it. He's back to dealing with stake. He's back in Canada where he could do it legally, like Train does. You know, Train's based out of Vancouver. He's been talking about that. Trainwreck's TV, that is, as he calls himself, Trainwreck. But now XQC is back to gambling on Twitch. And my main question I have for a lot of people is it ethical? And what's wrong with it? If there is something wrong with it. And people were asking me for my opinion on this whole thing. Because, you know, in the past, I've gambled. I do like gambling. I think there's a big difference between treating it, you know, like another way to make money and a way to have fun, right? First of all, the way that when you look at the psychology behind slot machines and how casinos are laid out, they are unfortunately designed to draw people in and designed to extract money from people that they might not necessarily be willing to part with, which in itself is very evil, okay? But my main issue that I have with stake is that they don't abide by AML laws, which is anti-money laundering laws, which is a big problem because you can have criminal elements in criminal enterprise using your platform to wash dirty money. And that money can be derived from drug trafficking, human trafficking, any sort of illicit and illegal activity. The other thing, too, is that it, particularly stake, does not abide by KYC. Maybe you've heard that before. Know your customer. Know your customer. If you're a business and you're doing, you know, in finance, if you're a banker and a guy comes to you and he says, hey, I got $10 million, you know, let's invest it. Let's do something with it, right? You got to find out where he got that fucking money from. Because if he stole it or misappropriated it, you're just as liable as him because you didn't do a good enough job, in detecting where the money came from. Sorry, I didn't want to burp on mic, and then I ended up doing it anyway. I got to cut that. But the whole point is that you are just as responsible as the guy that did the crime and got the money. So you got to watch your motherfucking shit. Now, I laid that out with stake. No AML, no KYC. You can't really track where the money's coming from. And another thing, too, is no self-exclusions baked onto the website either. You guys know what self-exclusions are? Self-exclusions is if you go to the MGM and you're gambling and you know that you have a problem, you could go to the desk and say, ban me from this casino, and they will ban you. You could say, ban me for a week, and they do that. Whatever amount of time you suggest to them and you say to them at the desk, they will do. They legally have to do that. There is regulation in place that forces them to allow people to do that, okay? So that's number one. Well, that's really number three. I don't know. I guess I'm counting backwards here. So there's KYC, AML, and self-exclusions. Now, let's look at stake versus FanDuel. A lot of people like FanDuel. Starting to get legalized in all the states across the U.S. Interesting stuff, right? Okay. Now let's look at FanDuel, and here's how you got to look at it. FanDuel has all three of those things that I just mentioned. FanDuel, you got to put in your social security number. You got to put in your name. You got to put in your address, right? And they flag all of your transactions and they find out where you got the money from to the best of their ability. Okay? So that's really big because stake does not do that. Another thing with FanDuel too is they have responsible gambling. They have a responsible gambling section where they tell you, hey, you know, this is just for fun. You're not supposed to come here and lose all your fucking money. Now, the reason they do that, if you want me to be honest with you, it's to protect from liability. That's why they do that. They don't give a fuck if you spend all your fucking money with them and you blow it all in these fucking 12-leg parlays that'll never hit. They don't give a flying fuck. What they care about is you losing money there, and they're making money, right? They want you to lose as much as you can, and they'll fucking take you to the cleaners. And that's the game. That's how the game is played. They literally make money from people, and they add no value to anything. Nothing. They don't add any value to society. They don't add anything. Maybe the enjoyment of gambling every once in a while, whatever. But the reality of it is that, like I said, they don't add any value. But at least they have these things. And at least their platforms, the mobile apps, right, the websites, whether you go to, like I mentioned, MGM before, you go to the desk, go to a physical location, you go to any casino, Borgata, doesn't matter. Go to a fucking Trump casino. Had to throw that in there, sorry. You go to any of them and you have self-exclusion, you're good. And that's a big thing, and that's something that people don't think about with stake. And I haven't seen anyone make that argument. You know why? Because, especially on Twitch, because these people, they don't know anything about gambling. They don't know anything about the game. They don't know anything about, how it's set up, how these businesses make money, stuff like that. So, if they're not privy, I get it, but they should be, especially in this conversation. So, KYC, AML, self-exclusion, 3 reasons right there why you don't use stake. And now forget the criminal element side of it, right? That's very minute. What about the kids that are buying crypto, they're buying Doge, they're buying Bitcoin, they're buying Ethereum, moving the funds to another wallet and then moving it into stake? Do you know how easy it is to do that? I'm not going to explain, what you do or like how you do it, but it does happen. It does fucking happen. So people need to be very careful with what they do. Now, for XQC to do this and gamble, first of all, and this is my opinion, maybe this is really controversial, I don't really care. Anyone who's gambling on these fucking websites and they're doing slots or anything like that, it's rigged. It's fucking rigged. That's why. You ever see them play the table games? Don't they lose a lot more? They lose a hell of a lot more, right? Watch an hour of XQC or Train playing at the fucking blackjack table. They're lucky if they win like 40% of their fucking hands, right? But when they do slots, they play for like 10 hours or whatever. Maybe they don't win that session, but like 3 sessions later, they win like 5 million. And then in the 3 sessions prior, they gambled like $1 million or something. Like, there's no way. You don't take that deal and you just lose money like that nonstop without going fucking bankrupt. There's no way. Like, Train says he lost a lot of money, and I do believe him. I think he did lose a lot of money. I think he's got a big problem, and he's got to get his fucking shit together, straighten it out. But I will tell you this. He's not gambling and doing these deals if he ain't making any fucking money. How do you think he got that apartment? I guess it's a condo. How do you think he got that condo? Come on. If you think he got that condo by just gambling away all his money, I got a bridge to sell you. There's no way. There's no fucking way that's not the case.